All right. Hey, everyone. Uh, Live. Anything can happen. Isn't this wonderful? Okay. So, if anybody missed, I'm Natalie Miniard, broker of record, much better at selling real estate than technology. I'm here with Amy Goldman, who is awesome and fantastic. And we are going to go over the market update for Hudson County, and we've partnered up with Hoboken Girl. So big shout out to Hoboken Girl. We're here at I'm at the house at 331 Washington Street in Hoboken, and we're going to go over, break it down a little bit. First slide here is total sales, and we've broken it down for Hoboken, Jersey City, and then Hudson County. Amy, you want to go over a little bit of what's going on in Hoboken?
Yeah. There's a couple things that kind of stuck out to me, and actually, just for a little perspective, let me share. Obviously, I work in the field of real estate, but I also work in financial planning. I'm the founder and president of a wealth management firm here in town, and one of the things that I follow, obviously, a key market indicator is real estate. How's real estate doing? For my financial planning clients. But in addition to that, there's some other key statistics that I'll discuss over the course of this conversation that I think also might be helpful for you guys in the process of selling real estate. So one of the things that kind of stuck out to me with the Hoboken market, you look at the numbers here and you're like, okay, May of 21, 107 units sold, April 108, not a huge difference. But what I think kind of makes those numbers a little more meaningful is if you go through the actual report, you see the number of new listings in that same time frame. So in April of 21, we had 220 new listings. And May of 21, we had 186. So significantly less listings came on the market in May, and we only had one less sale. I would also say days on the market is something that I think is a good indicator for us too. We had 40 days on the market as opposed to 42. So less listings, days on the market went down, and the median price. Well, we'll talk about that. We'll get to that in a minute. But we'll see the change in the median price as well. So year over year, we're up 88%. If anybody is familiar with the Hoboken market, they know that the brownstone market is bananas. I would say brownstones are and 4 bedrooms, like larger units, are up significantly more than 88% over year. I have a listing that I'm working on. The individuals bought it in the middle of COVID. They paid 1.85. We're talking about listing at 2.35. And that's 1 year later. In fact, it'll be a year in August since they closed. So the real estate market, as far as brownstones and larger units, is bananas. It's just gone crazy. So I'll like, yes, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. So what's going on in Jersey City?
Jersey City is hopping, rocking, and rolling. So May over May, we also saw a little bit of drop in listings. Obviously, May from last year. It's interesting to go over these numbers because I think in a deeper dive, which is what you would do with your real estate agent if you're out there, looking to buy or sell, you really want to dive into these numbers a little bit more, because obviously last year that was just crazy. That 95 listings total sales would not be a normal year. 57 would not be a normal month for either one of these towns. So to go to see that the total sales has gone down a little bit, not really surprising. We're going into the summer, tends to, in a normal market, tends to slow down a little bit. People want to take their vacations. We always know that the spring market and then the summer market slows down a little bit. Spring is a little bit busier, fall is a little bit busier. So I think, and Amy, I'm curious what your thoughts are on this. I think that's amplified by what we have just gone through and still, going through a bit. People want to take their vacations. People want to go and enjoy themselves. People want to be out. And I think that the real estate, maybe taking just a little bit of a typical break that we always see, but maybe a little bit exaggerated because of people wanting to get away. I think that everything is going to be rocking and rolling again as we get a little bit closer to fall. And it's not like it's really slowed down that much as is. We're just kind of seeing a typical change. And then overall Hudson County, which is obviously all the towns here along the waterfront, has, year over year total sales has gone up by 100%. And I believe that's a lot fueled by towns outside of the ones that we're focused on right here, Jersey City and Hoboken, because people were looking for other options in Hudson County. They weren't just focused, you know, you were seeing people moving to Weehawken, Union City, West New York, Bayonne. We're seeing other parts of Hudson County have a big increase in sales.
I would actually add to that too, that month over month from April to May, the price went up per
Yeah.
average sales price. And then on top of that, we actually saw less new listings again from
Right.
April to May. So less listings, less sales, so forth and so
Right.
on.
Right. We definitely all know that we need more inventory. That is, I think across the board, we know that in New Jersey as a whole, but definitely Hudson County, we're still in need. I'm noticing, I'm not sure if you're seeing the same thing, but I've noticed people are those that were not able to buy out in the suburbs that kind of rushed out last year, that maybe decided to rent or just were kind of forced into that because they didn't have the opportunity to purchase or were in bidding wars, which we all heard was going on. Now that there is the, you know, offices are coming back, they're moving back and they're expecting their employees to start coming back to the office. I've noticed I've been getting more showings for people that are like, we got to move back. And I'm noticing people that maybe moved from New York, Brooklyn, Queens, that came to New Jersey out of this necessity at the time, are now, you know, taking the opportunity to get to know Hudson County. You know, they're ready to, they got to get closer, but now, okay, well, we're checking out Jersey. So I'm seeing, I think we're going to get a nice little boost here in Hudson County again. I think we went down a little bit, obviously, with everything going on, but it's going to, you know, jump right back up, I believe, for the demand coming in. One of the things I found interesting because, as I said, you really do have to dig into specifically what you're looking for with your agent or specifically what you're selling. So when we looked at the numbers of what was selling last year in Jersey City, I just did the numbers here for Jersey City, but there was only one studio that sold in all of May last year. We had 5 sell this May. One bedrooms, there were 24 last year in May, 44 one bedrooms this year. 2 bedrooms, I mean, almost everything, 2 bedrooms, 22 of them around that number last May, and 52 this May. 12 3 bedrooms last year, 23 threes this year. And then we don't have a lot of 4 bedrooms, I'm noticing. When you talk about 4 bedrooms in Hoboken, I'm curious as to where the developers were thinking, because I don't see them in Jersey City. I've looked actually over the last 3 years, and we don't see a lot of 4 bedrooms making, you know, being sold at all. And I think that Jersey City should maybe take note of that because Hoboken is doing quite well with 4 bedrooms.
You know,
What are your thoughts there?
I think a lot of the existing buildings don't typically have them. I see a lot of 3 bedrooms or 2+ dens.
Yep.
Maxwell, for people who are familiar with that community on the water, they have a lot of 2+2 dens. So they have 2 bedrooms and the 2 dens. So most people are looking for, with new construction, they're looking for 3 to 4 bedroom. And so there's a group here in town that does very high-end development called the Terrassi Group. And they've been doing a lot of work in town for, I don't know, 15, 20 years. Everything that they put in is like Miele, Sub-Zero, you know, heated floors in the bathroom and like the padded floors throughout the apartment and steel and concrete, just very high-end construction. And they're going to be asking, they have a new project that's coming online on 6th and Hudson, and they're asking 2.8 million for basically a duplex with, and again, 2.8 million, this is a duplex, so it's not a single family, okay? And they're going to be between 3 and 3,500 square feet. You'll either have a roof deck or you'll have a yard. But just wrap your head around that for a minute. 2.8 million and you're not getting the whole house. Like, that's kind of bananas to me. But there's such a demand. And everybody, I think a lot of us on the line are familiar with that client that wants everything new and they don't have to do any work and easy breezy cover. Just move your stuff in and park your furniture. So they know that people are willing to pay a premium for that. And they're willing to pay a premium for those 4 bedrooms. So whether it's buying 2 units over at the T building and breaking down the wall in between, buying a new unit in a new construction building, or making the concession of having a 2 bedroom plus 2 den, you know, depends on what that family is willing to do. But the inventory is definitely presenting itself around town. And there's a new development. Well, there's 2 new opportunities. There's one 4 bedroom one left in 1425 Hudson. And that particular one, they lowered the price on because it's literally overlooking the playground of the shipyard. So if you have a client who doesn't mind a little bit of noise from some kids running around on Saturday mornings, it's fine. But for anybody who likes to walk around indisposed, it's not the right place to be. But there's one left there, and then there's a couple that are going up in the Wonder Loft. So if anyone's not familiar with the Wonder Lofts, you should familiarize yourself with it. It's a new construction project. It's going to be a very high-end full-service building. It is located next to the high school. But those are some things that are going on around town that satisfy that 4-bedroom situation. And I have a client who's looking for a 3-bedroom with parking and outdoor space. We've been looking for 5 months and we can't get anything. So it's a very competitive market in that space. Their budget is up to 2.5 million, by the way. So it's very competitive in that space.
Yeah, and most of what has been built in Jersey City, minus some of the smaller buildings, has been rentals. And obviously we know that the rentals are not going to be built as large, as spacious. I mean, you're lucky to even get 3 bedrooms. A lot of these buildings barely have them at all, if they have them. And if they do, they're on the smaller side. So I think we just in Jersey City have not, the product hasn't been built recently to supply the demand that we're now seeing. And so I'm interested to see how developers take this to heart and maybe start changing some of their design and maybe putting together, like you said, putting together a couple 2 bedrooms or putting together some 1 bedrooms or studios to try to create those larger homes. What I also feel, based on again, the demand for these larger homes, it's also people are open to renting as well. There's a lot of people that are still kind of wanting to see what happens, but they need that larger space. And to the point that the developers, these larger landlords, have not built these big homes in their buildings, where I think if you're an individual owner, maybe you bought a condo, 1 bedroom, your first home, now you're trying to rent it out, you're running into some challenges because you're competing with those bigger buildings. However, if you're an owner of a larger 3-bedroom, 2+ den, happen to have a larger 3+ den, there's really not almost any competition. So you're able to get a very good rent on those properties because there's not a lot of people that are renting those out. And there is a pretty strong demand for that still in the rental market as well. So I'm interested to see how that plays out.
One thing I would actually echo on the comments that you had made before. I'm going to step back for a minute, but you were talking about people going back to work. There's a lot of news today about Morgan Stanley. The director of Morgan Stanley said, if you can go out to eat in a restaurant, you can come to the office. Enough is enough. So he's putting down a hard line. If you're not back at the end of the summer, you lose your job. Jamie Dimon, the CEO of Chase, also came out and said, if you want to work from home, that's fine. But if you lose one deal because you weren't in the office, you lose your job. So there's a really hard line coming here. And I think, to kind of echo what you had said before, there are some boomerang people, meaning they moved to the burbs and they're boomerang back to the Jersey City, Hoboken area. But I think there's also people that maybe were either renting or now they're thinking about buying here. But I have a fair amount of people who owned here, and now they're like, okay, if we're sticking it out, I need something a little bit bigger. Because I think COVID taught them the lesson that, we thought we could do a 2-bedroom, but after a year at home with my spouse and 2 kids, I need more room, or I need outdoor space, or I need more closets, or whatever that need ends up being. So I think that's going to be kind of another driver for the market, local people who are looking to expand.
I actually was just talking to one of our agents yesterday about people that bought 2 years ago a 2-bedroom that are now looking for maybe a brownstone because their father needs to move in with them, and so they're looking for maybe a 2-family now. So yeah, a lot of priorities have possibly shifted over the last year, and so people are going to be making those adjustments. To your point, they do want brand new. I am shocked at how people don't even want to they don't want to paint right now. I've got a gorgeous penthouse that would normally have flown off the shelf, and just because under circumstances it's not exactly the most modern paint colors and it needs a tiny little bit of work, but it's an amazing space with outdoor, so rooftop penthouse, gorgeous. And I cannot believe how many people have come through and just were turned off simply by the paint colors. So it is something that we talk about when we're about to list. We have our tips for sellers, and as simple as painting the place fresh and clean and new. It's always been a thing. It's even more so now with having gone through COVID. People want to feel like fresh and clean, and they also don't have time to live through a renovation. People are working, certainly in these price points, like you mentioned, the 2 point plus, they don't have time to deal with a renovation. So they do want to just move right in. But to that point, there are some opportunities for someone that might be a little open to some bathroom renovations, painting, maybe putting a new countertop, putting some new appliances. I'm not talking about like gut renovating something, but just seeing beyond. I also think, and interested to your thought, a lot of the newer, I'd say over the last maybe 5 years, I would say in Jersey City, I guess, a lot of the footprints, the floor plans, the square footages have gotten smaller. When I first got into the business, 750 to 800 for a one bedroom was normal. And now you're lucky to even get 700 for a one bedroom. And then take that up to the twos and threes and what those sizes are. So even if you manage to get a three, it might only be 1,200. It's not going to be 1,700 square feet. I find it that there is a huge opportunity in the buildings that are 15, maybe even go back 20, but 10 to 20 years old, 10 to 15, I would lean towards. If the building itself is a good structure, it has good bones, it's got central AC, it's got gas cooking, which everybody seems to love. If the building itself is a good structure, I see people leaning towards that need that size, going back to those units, those buildings that offer the bigger footprint, because at this point, 10 to 12 to 15 years old is kind of ready for a renovation anyway, right? So if you were to take that footprint, the larger square footage in a little bit of an older building, 10, 15 years old, that's not that old. And then you can make it your own and put in the kitchens you want and the finishes you want. You're going to get the square footage that you're not going to get in the brand new construction most of the time.
I love using the example of Toll Brothers because it's so definitive, right? This is a builder who their first concept of building on the waterfront in Hoboken was 1,500 Garden. And the 2 bedrooms in 1,500 Garden are 1,500, 1,550, 1,600 square feet. And they have those huge vaulted ceilings with the exposed beams. It's like very cool building, right? The second proof of concept for them was heading over to Maxwell. And when they started building Maxwell, the 2 bedrooms there were like between 12 and 1,400 square feet, depending on how much the cost of the units, so forth and so on. 1,450 was next. 1,450, you find 2 bedrooms are like between 11 and 1,300 square feet. Then came 1,400, which is where you're looking at my apartment window right now, which is where I live, and me and my husband fight all the time about we live in a 1,228 square foot 2 bedroom. It's just too small, right? I want those extra 300 square feet. And then actually now they have 1,425, which came after this, which 2 bedrooms are as little as 1,000 square feet. And then finally 1,000, which is a similar situation. So every time they built a new building, they realized they could fit more units into that building at a smaller footprint and make more money. So to echo your point, there's a unit actually currently for sale on the first floor. So not everybody likes the first floor, right? But it's a 1,900 square foot 3 bedroom. Wow. It's not selling for $1.6 million, 1,900 square feet in a luxury building that has a pool, 5 gyms, 3 lounges, a yoga room, playrooms for the kids. It has every luxury that you could want. It's not selling. It needs a new kitchen.
Right.
Not right away, but it needs it. It has the vaulted ceilings. It has 1,900 square foot closets galore, because that was the other thing that took a hit over the years. You had all these walk-in closets, and then the closets got smaller, and then you're lucky if you have one walk-in closet, right? So that's another thing, and people just have to be a little more creative in what they're looking for, and that's our responsibility as agents to really walk people through this. It's one thing if you have to knock down walls, but if you have to put organizers in the closets, change the paint, look past the ugly furniture that's currently being shown, and then all you have to do is put a new countertop. The cabinets are fine. You can have them refaced, right? So these are all conversations that we can have with the client to try to encourage them to take on what's a smaller project, but would give them a huge return long-term.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think there's definitely so much opportunity out there for someone that's willing to do just a little bit of refresh to some of these larger spaces. A good return. So do we have another slide coming?
Anything? Do. So we have now median sales price, right? Which obviously came down a little bit for Hoboken from April to May, and there were less sales, right? So we talked about less listings and less sales. So although that is a pretty significant drop, it's not super alarming to me, because I do think, as you had alluded, when everyone goes back to work in September, we'll see a little bit more of a spike.
I think we're going to see it even towards the end of the summer when they start realizing, okay, we got to get this done. I think right now, everybody's just so excited to be out, to be to the beach, go to the Hamptons, get to the shore, take a vacation, that I think we're going to see that we're seeing that little bit of quiet time. And which is not much. It's for us, it's still, we're still running around like crazy, but it's just a little bit quieter. Maybe we get to have lunch, you know, between appointments right now. Yeah, and I mean, Jersey City, again, year over year, something that was closing in May, probably went under contract, you know, in March or early April. So it's, that was right at the height of everything's first, you know, coming to that we were dealing with. So it's hard to really make too many comparisons on what happened last year to where we are. I would just say that we're, you know, we're in a good place, and it's only going to keep going up and keep getting better. And look, the inventory has just not been getting built, bottom line. And if you want to purchase a home with these low interest rates, and this is in, you know, in your field here, you know, you want to invest and make some smart moves. The interest rates are still crazy low. So we don't see the inventory. We still don't have the inventory. They've not been building condos here in Jersey City, as I said, in Hoboken. But in Jersey City, we haven't seen the new construction for condos. And so there's going to be a lack of inventory.
Yeah. I did actually collect some statistics I thought might be helpful for the
Sure.
group. So the Fed meeting starts today, and they have to determine whether or not they're going to raise interest rates because inflation is crazy. And so kind of on the heels of that, when you talk about building, the cost of lumber is up 474%, I think is the last.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're a builder, and actually I had this happen with a friend of mine, she was looking to get a quote for hardwood floors in her home. The quote last year was 28,000. She put it off. Same floors, same product, nothing's changed. $37,000.
Yeah.
Floors. Okay. So think about being a builder, and you're talking about, you know, building a home, the cost of lumber being as it is today. So I think your new housing starts might take a little bit of a hit because you have to be a builder that has a lot of capital and take the risk of knowing that people will buy your product for that inflated price because of the cost, the rising cost of building that product, right?
Yep.
But a couple of things that are going to feed into all this, okay? And this is relative, I promise. When you look at retail sales for the month of May, they fell more steeply than anticipated. And this partly dovetails into the cost of goods, which is inflation, right? In addition to that, when the Fed is trying to consider whether or not they're going to raise rates, they're also looking at the cost of making those goods. So supply chain, right? If you're ordering from Restoration Hardware, you're waiting 8 to 12 weeks to get your furniture. Supply chain just basically means how the people who are selling products can get those products to get them delivered to people, okay? There's major disruptions in supply chain right now. And then the other thing that I wanted to cover was basically the inflation rates for the last 4 months, okay? So inflation is the cost of goods and services, okay? If you go buy milk, if you buy gas, if you're buying bread, bananas, whatever it is, the cost in chicken actually is one that's gone up astronomically,
Crazy.
which is really random. But chicken's one you have to keep an eye on. For the last 4 months, and I'll be quick, I promise. January 1.4, February 1.7, March 2.6, April 4.2, May 5%. So this is inflation rates, and I will share with you that May of 20, so a year ago, it was 0.1%. So the rate of inflation averages about 1.5%, up until February of this year, and then it leads to 2.6, 4.2, and 5%. So everybody says, well, what does this mean? Well, if the cost of goods and service are more money, people will have less money to spend on their home. If the cost of goods and services are more money, then the Fed has to do something to make the dollar more valuable, which means they have to increase interest rates, make the dollar less available. And without going into a whole economics lesson, the likelihood of them raising the rates today is unlikely, but I think the goal of 2023, which was originally Powell's goal, is not a reality anymore. That's my personal opinion, okay? I think he's gonna end up raising it a lot sooner than that. Now, what does that mean for you as a real estate agent? Well, if the price, if inflation keeps going up and the price of getting money as a loan to purchase a home is going to go up, people can afford less home. Okay, so people are going to be moving down in price range, and people may just choose to rent because they can't afford what they really want. So just keep all of that in mind. If you have people that you're having these conversations with, one of the things that you could kind of pepper into the conversation is say, hey, if interest rates end up going up because inflation's been going crazy over the last 4 months, you'd be able to afford less home. Now could be a really good time for you to get into the home that you might pay a little bit more for, but over the 30-year loan, you're going to pay less interest on. So this is just, again, things that you can kind of pepper into the conversation.
No, it's very valuable, and why you're so smart with all this, and everyone should work with you.
Come and work.
Yeah. Well, this was really, I enjoyed this. I hope everybody out there enjoyed it as well. Sorry about the technical difficulty at the beginning. But thank you, Amy Goldman, for your wonderful insight and beautiful view behind you. And yeah, we're gonna do this every month. So stay tuned for our next market update next month. And we're following this very closely. And like we always say, find a really solid, educated, and experienced real estate professional to help you, whether you're buying or selling, to really dig into these numbers, because it's not as general as we make it sometimes in these slides. That it really does matter what you're selling or what you're looking to buy. And we can also go over different options for you with all that. So Amy Goldman, thank you very much. Big shout out to Hoboken Girl. And come visit us at 331 Washington Street here in Hoboken, Triplemint. Thanks again for joining us. Thanks, Amy.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day, everyone.